Hey guys, today I'm going to be going over my mobility routine. First I will explain what mobility is in this context, because I think it's kind of a concept a lot of people don't really discuss or don't really know a lot about. I'll then go over my mobility routine, which I do every day, and it keeps my joints really healthy and allows me to perform at greater ability. And then I'll go over each move really specifically so you guys can kind of grasp what you really need to do in them and what it will work out and how you can progress in them. I will also leave timestamps in the description so you guys can skip through the video to get to the parts you're really interested in. Let's get into it. So this guy called Starrett, who is a physical therapist who has worked with top athletes, written numerous books and held loads of seminars. I think he's also got an online course on mobility. Defines mobility as a movement-based full body approach that takes into account all the elements that limit movement and performance. He also goes on to say that it is a great tool for improving your capacity to move and perform efficiently. So his definition really entails all of fitness and exercise and moving your body really healthily and kind of to the optimal way. I read this in his book Becoming a Supple Leopard, which is just as great as the title, and I will leave an Amazon link in the description for that, which is a great read. So my mobilisation routine focuses on joint health and movement by strengthening what Starrett calls your primary engines, which is your hips and your shoulders, because if you think about it, they are the stem of almost every exercise. He also shows that exercises are a series of positions and transitions between them, so having healthy joints which will carry you through these transitions and positions is really useful to carry out exercises safely and efficiently. So I think a topic that a lot of people are kind of going to be thinking about in this is static stretching, such as holding a lunge, which can be included in mobilisation. However, I will go over the benefits and downfalls of this kind of static stretching in the future in a video. But in short, static stretching can sometimes push your range of motion to a place what isn't really supported by your strength. Say if you're going into a squat with 80 kilos on your back, if you can suddenly go lower than you've ever gone before, you know, your strength is going to be surprised and it won't be able to bring you up, and that's really a dangerous place to be and you might get injured. However, there are situations where these kind of stretches are useful, such as recovery, or maybe if you do have a significant lack in range of motion. But as I said, I will go over more of that in a future video. I will also go over many mobilisation techniques in the future in a series that I plan to do solely on recovery. As I've said, I do this routine every day because it only takes about 15 minutes. I'll do it either first thing in the morning or I'll do it before and after an exercise, because it really does warm up and then warm down your joints really well. However, if I'm say kickboxing, I will add in like a certain static stretch or an active stretch to maybe gain a kind of further flexibility in my legs. I will also go over full warm-ups maybe for different situations in a future video, just to make sure to get your heart going and then to mobilise the areas that are going to be worked. An easy way to do this is 30 star jumps and then this very mobilisation routine, because it should cover your whole body. So I got this routine from compiling numerous sources, obviously the book that I mentioned before, but also the Calisthenics movement channel, which is really great. I'll leave a link for that in the description. It's got loads of things, you should definitely go and check it out. The routine basically consists of 3 flows, and each flow is about 4 to 5 movements, which you'll then hold to 3 to 5 seconds. You'll complete one flow 3 times, and then you'll go into the next one, do that 3 times, and then you'll finish with the last one 3 times. So let's get into them. So the first flow, as you're seeing right now, consists of a deep squat. You want to go as deep as you can without lacking form, and then I fold each of my legs in one by one, and then I twist on the end to get a nice rotation. I'll then go on to a deep squat with a twist and a reach, and then at the top I'll rotate my whole arm by the shoulder. Then I go into a pike stand, I reach for my opposing ankle. You can bend your knees here if you want, obviously I'll go into it more in a second. And then I finish at a cobra for the first flow, and that will stretch your whole body. So now, as you're seeing on the second flow, I'll go for a toe touch or a forward fold into an archer squat, and then I'll do that on both sides. Again for about 3 to 5 seconds. I'm going a bit faster in this video. Then I'll go on to a downward dog, very similar to the pike stand but still has different advantages. I'll finish with something called a Spider-Man lunge. You do want to kind of go wider with the lunge than I'm doing in the video. And then I obviously go into a pigeon stretch. As you're seeing there, guys, I just fold in my leg, and that will stretch even more of your body. So on to the final and third flow. You want to start with a toe touch, as you just saw, and then onto an easy bridge or tabletop position, and then you go into a reach with that one. You can twist your arm on that one as well, similar to the squat as before. I then go into a back bridge, or maybe a crab as some people know it, and then I finish off with something called a butterfly stretch, and then that's the end of the flows. So I'll leave a link to a table in the description. I'll also put the table on my Instagram page for really nice and easy access. I will now go over each movement specifically, so you guys can see the progressions, the form, and of course the benefits of each movement. So the squat and folding is really great for hip, ankle and spine mobility, and often negates a lot of the effects for sitting down for too long. You want to make sure your back is straight, you want to keep your heels definitely on the ground, you don't want to be on the balls of your feet. You then drive your knees out, you want to make sure your knees don't come in. That can happen when your feet are maybe pointed in, but if your knees come in, it's going to be very unstable and you might get injured, so make sure to drive those out. You then fold your legs in really nice and controlled throughout, and make sure you keep that, you can go nice and slow, just whatever's at your pace, just don't crash down. I then twist to add more rotation, and make sure to keep the form correct and don't sacrifice it for a deep squat, because you will get there as you mobilise with time. So the squat and reach has all the benefits as before, but it adds also a little bit of shoulder mobilisation, which is really good. You want to reach for your opposing ankle, and then with your other arm you want to reach into the air and twist your arm at your shoulder. You can eventually bring your elbow lower and lower to touch the ground when you become really mobile. I can't quite do it yet, but I aim to. And then that's a really good place to be at. So the pike stand and then reach is really great for your shoulders and your hamstrings. You want to keep your legs straight if you can, that will work for more of the hamstrings, but if you need to, you can bend them so you can reach your ankle. And a main thing here is pushing to the ground with your arm that is on the ground, and this will work your shoulder. You don't want to hang in there at all. You want to push out of it and create nice tense movements. So finally, for the first flow, the cobra stretch is really good for your shoulders and hips as you push into the ground with your arms and stretch your whole body. Again, you don't want to hang in your structures, you don't want to be resting on your shoulders, you want to push into the ground with them and stretch your body forward. If this is tricky, you can have your knees on the ground, but eventually it is good to aim to have just your feet and your hands on the ground. Onto the second flow, the forward fold is really great for your hamstrings. You can also work your spine if you round your back, which I think is usually what people do. However, again, if you want to focus on the hamstrings more, you keep your back straight and still reach down, and you'll really feel the burn in your hamstrings. You can basically it works with your flexibility here. Aim for the shins at first, then maybe your ankles, then the feet, and then if you can the ground. Again, with all of this, as you go on and you do this maybe daily, you will get better at it. So the arch squat can be really tricky at first, but it contains all the tips and benefits from the first squat with a little bit more leg flexibility. I think the key here is to keep your heel on the ground, and it stops it from being just a normal lunge that I think everyone's very used to. You want to keep your stance relatively wide, but obviously not too wide, and you will get used to that and you'll be able to just pop into it. And then eventually you want to drop lower and lower into the stretch, and that's where you'll see your progression. You can point your toes downwards so your foot is almost flat, and that will target your abductors, which are kind of by your thighs. Also, you can point your toes upwards, and then you'll feel it a bit more on your hamstrings if you feel like that's where you want to focus. The downward dog will work your shoulders, very similar to the pike stand. However, you're getting your armpits and you're kind of pushing them towards your toes, and you can do it with your head as well to emphasize that. So the lunge into pigeon stretch is really great for your hip flexors and glutes. You want to rest on the ball of your foot and then bring your leg out relatively wide, and that's more of a Spider-Man lunge is what they call them. However, if that's tricky, you can just bring your foot kind of forward so it's in line with your body. You want to kind of get your hips as low to the ground as you can, and similar to the arch squat, you will get lower and lower as you progress. So with the pigeon stretch, you should aim to get your leg eventually into a 90-degree angle in front of you. However, I think as a beginner, and for me as well, even now, it does come closer and closer to your body, and that's absolutely fine. You'll kind of know when you can push it a little bit more forward and feel that kind of stretch even better. Finally, start the third flow. Your toe touch works very similarly to the forward fold, so it works your hamstrings and your spine, and that again is if you round it, and if you keep it straight, you are going to work more of your hamstrings again. So the easy bridge and reach will work your shoulders, but is also really beneficial to posture. Make sure to push your chest up by pushing to the ground, also with your hands. Again, you don't want to rest in your shoulders or your joints, that can be quite negative. To make the bridge harder, you can push your legs further and further away from your body, and that will make it trickier to support, which is a nice progression. You can also make it easier by sitting on the floor and also with the reach, but just with this, make sure you're pushing to the ground with that arm, because that's what we're really trying to work here. And then you can also add a twist with the other arm, similar to what you do in the squat and reach. So the back bridge or crab will work your spine, your hip flexors and your shoulders, whilst also promoting good posture again. You may want to do this with your head on the ground because it can be really tricky at first. Just take it slow, but you can also practice on a wall like I'm doing right now, and that's also a good way to get into it. And just make sure your fingers are towards your body and just get kind of more into it where you're just completely supporting yourself. Last but not least, the butterfly stretch is great for your hips and your shoulders. It works your shoulders because you're pushing into the ground with your hands behind you, and you're also pushing your hips forward, bringing them closer to your feet, and then the aim really is to get your knees closer and closer to the ground, and once you can get into the ground, you're at a really great place for mobilization. So that's all the movements. Really specifically, just know that they are going to differ because of your current mobility. That's not a problem at all. You can go deeper and deeper or more supportive in each time you do it. It's really fine. Just keep proper form and stick to it, and then you will progress through it, and I think you'll see benefits of it in daily life and when you're exercising, because I definitely have. End of my mobility routine. Remember guys, it is great for mobilizing your joints and lubricating them. It's great for mimicking transitions that occur in exercises and warm-ups. You should aim to do this almost every day, maybe one rest day, because it is a great way to warm up your body and even just move it, and it takes about 15 minutes. You can even do more sets of each flow if you want, you can do less, it's completely up to you. You can hold the movements for 3 to 5 seconds. I like to hold it for 5 to kind of increase my flexibility a little bit more, but again, it is up to you. Please let me know if this video helped you at all by leaving a comment on here, or maybe on my Instagram, which you definitely should go check out, and the name of that is in the description as well and at the end of the video. And as usual, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.